All right, so get this. We're diving into luxury real estate today.
Ooh, sounds fancy.
It is, but with a twist.
Yeah.
We're talking Bitcoin. Apparently, you can now buy a villa in Marbella, Spain with it.
Really? Like straight up Bitcoin for a villa?
Yeah, it's this company called Elite Villas Marbella. They're like pioneers in this whole thing.
Interesting. So is this like a gimmick or is there something more to it?
I think it's a bit of both.
Bruh.
But we found this article from them, and it got us thinking, is this the future of real estate?
I mean, it's definitely attention grabbing.
Right. So we're going to unpack this whole Bitcoin real estate thing, see what's really going on.
Sounds like a plan. Let's dive in.
Okay, so first off, Elite Villas Marbella. They're not your average realtors. They're early adopters of this whole crypto thing.
Yeah, it seems like they're really leaning into this, not just dipping their toes.
Yeah, and they're clearly targeting a specific kind of client,
Right.
someone who's comfortable with Bitcoin,
Yeah, for sure.
someone who values speed and security.
Exactly. And that's where blockchain comes in. Remember that whole decentralized ledger thing? Yeah, vaguely refresh my memory.
Okay, so basically every Bitcoin transaction is recorded on this public ledger. It's called the blockchain
Okay, and that makes it secure. How?
because it's decentralized.
Yeah,
It's not controlled by any one person or institution,
because that's like tamper-proof.
pretty much. It's incredibly difficult to hack or alter the records.
Ah, I see. So that's a big selling point for people who are wary of traditional banking systems.
Exactly. And the article really emphasizes this idea of a seamless, personalized experience for clients using Bitcoin.
Yeah, I noticed that. It seems like they're going for that whole high-tech luxury vibe.
Totally. And the founder of Elite Villas Marbella, Jonathan Caronin, he's quoted in the article talking about how they want to make the buying process as smooth as possible.
Makes sense. Especially for international buyers. Think of all the hoops they usually have to jump through.
Exactly. Wire transfers,
Yeah.
paperwork, waiting weeks for everything to go through.
Yeah, with Bitcoin, it could potentially be so much faster.
Right.
Like minutes instead of weeks.
Right. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But is it really that secure?
Well, blockchain is considered highly secure, but it's not foolproof. There are still risks.
Like what?
Well, there's always the potential for hacking. And scams are a big concern too.
So it's not a perfect system, but it's still arguably more secure than many traditional systems.
Exactly. It's a trade-off, but the potential benefits are huge.
Okay, so let's talk big picture for a second. The article actually predicts that digital currencies like Bitcoin are going to transform the real estate industry.
That's a bold statement. But I can see where they're coming from.
Yeah, me too. Think about it. Property ownership records could be stored on the blockchain, making titles more secure and transparent.
Right, and that could reduce fraud, speed up transactions, maybe even lower costs by cutting out the middleman.
It's a pretty radical vision. But is it realistic?
I think it has the potential to be, but there are definitely some potential downsides to consider.
Like what?
Well, for one, the volatility of Bitcoin, its value can fluctuate wildly.
Oh yeah, that's true. So you could buy a villa worth millions and then suddenly your Bitcoin holdings plummet.
Exactly. It's a huge risk. And then there are the regulatory hurdles.
Right. Governments are still figuring out how to deal with cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and that uncertainty could create challenges for widespread adoption in real estate.
It's a complex issue. But the article does mention this one example. An American client who bought a villa in Marbella using Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and they completely bypassed all the usual banking delays.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's the power of this technology.
Right. It's like a glimpse into the future.
Totally. But I think a lot of people still see this as something only for the ultra wealthy.
Yeah, like Bitcoin is just for buying villas in Marbella.
Right. But the underlying technology, blockchain, it has implications for everyone.
So even if we're not all buying luxury villas, this is still something we should be paying attention to.
Absolutely. It's about how we think about value and transactions,
Yeah.
and that's going to affect all of us eventually.
Okay, I'm convinced. This is bigger than just fancy villas.
Way bigger. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how our financial systems work.
Wow. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is. And it's happening right now, whether we're ready for it or not. This whole thing, it's really like we're watching this digital revolution unfold right in front of us in real estate. But it's more than just the tech itself.
What do you mean?
It's like Elite Villas Marbella is tapping into this cultural shift that's happening, this desire for transparency, efficiency control.
Yeah, I see that, especially with younger generations. They're all about digital currencies.
Exactly. They're not just buying a property, they're buying into a whole new way of doing things.
So it's a mindset shift.
Exactly. It's about embracing a new way of thinking about ownership transactions. Everything Imagine if you could track the entire history of a property on the blockchain.
That would be incredible. You could see every owner, every renovation, every transaction all in one place.
And it would all be secure and transparent, no more shady dealings.
That would definitely make things easier for buyers and sellers.
Hmm.
But what about real estate agents and lawyers? Wouldn't this disrupt their whole industry?
It's a valid point. And it's where things get really interesting. As blockchain technology gets more sophisticated, we could see these decentralized platforms popping up.
Decentralized platforms. Like what?
Platforms that connect buyers and sellers directly, cutting out the middleman.
Wow. That would be a huge change. But wouldn't that create a whole new set of challenges?
Of course. We'd need to figure out things like dispute resolution, fraud prevention, consumer protection, all in this new landscape.
So it's not a simple solution.
Not at all. But I think blockchain technology, with its transparency and security, offers some solutions to these challenges.
It's like a whole new world we're stepping into, full of opportunities and complexity.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations, to be aware of the potential benefits and the risks.
So we can make informed decisions as this technology evolves.
Precisely. We need to be proactive, not just reactive.
This all sounds very futuristic. Do you really think this is going to happen anytime soon?
I think it's already happening. We're seeing the early stages of it right now. And the pace of innovation in the blockchain space is mind-blowing.
So Elite Villas Marbella, they're not just an isolated example.
Not at all. They're like the tip of the iceberg. This is going to ripple through the entire real estate industry. And eventually, I think it'll impact how we buy and sell all kinds of assets.
It's pretty amazing to think about the potential.
It is. But remember what we talked about earlier, the volatility of Bitcoin? That's a major factor.
Right. It's a huge risk for buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
And for the stability of the market as a whole.
Exactly. And then you have governments and regulatory bodies. They're going to have a lot to say about all of this.
They already are. And how they choose to regulate cryptocurrencies will have a huge impact on adoption.
Some countries are embracing it. Others are more cautious. It's a mixed bag.
It's definitely a complex landscape. But even with all the challenges and uncertainties, it's clear that this trend has enormous potential.
I agree. And it's not just about real estate. This technology has the power to transform everything. Finance, ownership, even governance.
It's like we're standing at the edge of this new frontier. It's exciting and a little bit scary all at the same time.
It is, but that's what makes it so compelling. We have the opportunity to shape this technology, to use it to create a more transparent, efficient, and equitable world.
So what can our listeners do to stay ahead of the curve?
Stay informed. Be open to learning. Read about blockchain technology. Explore different cryptocurrencies. Engage in conversations like this one.
Be proactive.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Exactly. The more we understand about this technology, the better equipped we'll be to navigate the changes it brings.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the potential of Bitcoin and blockchain in real estate. But what about the bigger picture? The article kind of hinted that this could impact other industries as well.
Yeah, it's like that domino effect. If it can shake up something as big as real estate, what's next?
Right. The possibilities are kind of endless. Think about supply chains, for example.
Supply chains.
Yeah, imagine tracking a product's whole journey from where it's made to when it lands on your doorstep. So you'd know exactly where it came from, it was produced ethically, all that stuff.
Exactly. Blockchain can bring that kind of transparency. And I remember we talked about voting systems before.
Oh, yeah. How blockchain could make them more secure.
Right. Less voter fraud, more trust in the whole process. And then there's the art world.
NFTs. That's a whole other rabbit hole.
But it's happening. Blockchain is changing how we buy, sell, own digital art. It's fascinating.
It really is.
Yeah.
So blockchain could potentially impact almost every part of our lives.
It's possible, and that's why we need to be having these conversations. This tech is still developing. We have a chance to shape how it's used.
To make sure it's used for good, basically.
Exactly. Ethical, responsible. That's the goal. So what can people do? How can our listeners learn more about all this?
Yeah, where do we even start?
Well, first things first, do your research. There's so much information online, articles, videos, podcasts, courses. Just dive in.
Okay, good advice. What about investing in crypto? Is that a good idea?
It's risky. I wouldn't recommend it without doing your homework. Understanding the market? Talk to a financial advisor.
And only invest what you can afford to lose. That's the golden rule, right?
Absolutely. This stuff is exciting, but we need to be smart about it, level-headed.
Right. Don't get caught up in the hype. But stay curious.
Exactly. Ask questions. Challenge what you hear. Be open to new ideas. Because this technology, it's always changing. We got to keep learning.
It's like we're all explorers in this new digital world, figuring it out as we go.
Yeah. And that's what makes it so cool. We're part of something new, something big. The possibilities are endless.
Well, we started with Bitcoin and luxury villas, and now we're talking about the future of, well, everything.
It's all connected, and who knows what's next.
That's the exciting part. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you learned something new, maybe got inspired to explore blockchain and crypto a little more yourself.
It's a wild ride. Buckle up.
Until next time, folks.